Yeah, we all feel it every single moment. A quiet, constant push from behind. It's the feeling of now becoming then. The future arriving, turning into the present, and sliding away into the past. We can remember yesterday. We can't remember tomorrow. We can break an egg to make an omelet. We can't turn an omelet back into an egg. It seems so obvious, so fundamental, that we rarely stop to ask the question, why? Why does time move in one direction? Why does it only flow forward? It's one of the biggest and most stubborn questions in all of science. The answer is strange. It's not written into the basic laws of how the world works. In fact, if you look at the most fundamental rules of physics, they don't seem to care about the direction of time at all. Let's think about that for a second. Imagine you're watching a video of the solar system. You see planets moving in their slow, graceful orbits around the sun. Now, imagine you play that video in reverse. What do you see? Planets moving in their slow, graceful orbits around the sun. Nothing looks weird or impossible. The laws of gravity that govern those planets work exactly the same forward and backward in time. There's no built-in arrow pointing toward the future. Let's zoom in, way in. Look at two tiny particles, maybe two atoms, bouncing off each other like billiard balls. You watch one come in from the left, hit the other, and they both fly off in new directions. Now, run the video backward. You see two atoms come flying in, hit each other, and fly off in their original directions. Again, it looks perfectly normal. The laws of motion and energy that describe that collision are time-symmetric. They work both ways. Even in the strange world of quantum mechanics, the basic equations are the same. A particle zigs and zags, and if you reverse its path, the math still checks out. Almost everything we know about how the universe works at a microscopic level seems to be a two-way street. The past and the future are treated equally, but that's not what we experience at all. Our world is full of one-way streets. A cup falls off the table and shatters. A log burns in the fireplace and turns to ash. A drop of ink spreads out in a glass of water. You never see the opposite. You never see a pile of shards jump off the floor and assemble themselves into a cup on the table. You never see a pile of ash and smoke gather itself back into a perfect log. You never see a cloudy glass of water suddenly collect all its ink into a single tiny drop. This is the core of the mystery. If the tiny little parts of the world don't have a preferred direction in time, why does the big world, the world we live in, have such a strong and obvious one? If the individual dancers can move left or right, why does the whole dance only move to the right? The answer seems to have to do with one of the most powerful and important ideas in all of science. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. That sounds complicated, but the basic idea is simple. It's the idea of entropy. Entropy is, in a casual sense, a measure of disorder or messiness. The second law says that in any closed system, entropy tends to increase. Things get messier over time. Your clean room, if you leave it alone, doesn't get cleaner. It gets messier. A neat stack of papers on your desk is more likely to get scattered than a scattered pile is to stack itself neatly. This isn't a deep cosmic force pushing things toward messiness, it's just a matter of statistics. It's about probability. Think of a brand new deck of cards, fresh from the box. It's in a very ordered state. Ace, 2, 3, all the way to the king for each suit. There is only one way for the deck to be in that perfect order. Now, shuffle the deck. You've put it into a disordered state. How many ways can the deck be disordered? A huge astronomical number. The number is 52 factorial, which is an 8 followed by 67 zeros. It's a number so large, it's hard to even think about. So, when you shuffle the cards, you're just randomly moving them around. Is it possible that you could shuffle them and they would end up back in their perfect new deck order? Yes, it's possible. Is it likely? No. It is so fantastically unlikely that you could shuffle a deck of cards every second for the entire age of the universe, and you would never ever see it happen. The deck of cards moves from order to disorder simply because there are vastly, overwhelmingly more ways to be disordered than there are to be ordered. It's not a law that says cards must get messy. It's just the laws of chance. The universe is playing the same game of chance, but with an unimaginable number of particles. Let's go back to the drop of ink in the water. At the start, you have a very ordered state. All the ink molecules are in one tiny spot. All the water molecules are everywhere else. That's a specific, neat arrangement. Then, the molecules start bumping into each other randomly. The ink molecules spread out. The water molecules mix in. After a few minutes, the water is a uniform, cloudy gray. This is a disordered state. Why does this happen? For the same reason the cards get shuffled. There are countless ways for the ink molecules to be spread throughout the water. There is only one way for them all to be clumped together in that first tiny drop. So, as the molecules randomly jiggle and bounce around, they are almost certain to end up in one of the trillions upon trillions of disordered states. They are almost certain not to end up back in that one single ordered state. The breaking of an egg is the same story. A whole egg is an incredibly complex ordered structure, a shell, a membrane, a yolk, an egg white. When you drop it, that structure is broken. The molecules are now in a messy, disordered puddle on the floor. There are many more ways for the egg's atoms to be arranged as a puddle than there are for them to be arranged as a whole egg. So it breaks. It doesn't unbreak. This is the arrow of time. The reason time seems to move forward is that the universe as a whole is moving from a state of low entropy to a state of high entropy. It's moving from order to disorder. It's like the universe is one giant unshuffling deck of cards. We are just living through the shuffle. The past is the more ordered state. The future is the more disordered state. Time flows in the direction of increasing entropy. This explains why we see cups shatter but not unshatter. It's why we see logs burn but not unburn. These processes all involve a massive increase in disorder. The energy stored in the log's chemical bonds is released as disorganized heat and light. The neat structure of the cup is turned into a random scattering of shards. This idea, the thermodynamic arrow of time, is the most widely accepted explanation we have. It connects our everyday experience of time to a fundamental statistical law of the universe. But it also raises a new, even deeper question. If the universe is constantly getting more disordered, what does that imply about its past? It implies the universe must have started in an incredibly ordered state, an incredibly low entropy state. And that appears to be exactly what happened. All our evidence from cosmology points to the Big Bang. About 13.8 billion years ago, the entire observable universe was squeezed into a point of unimaginable density and temperature. This initial state was, bizarrely, a state of extremely low entropy. It was like the universe began as a perfectly ordered, brand new deck of cards. Or a perfectly wound up clock. Why? Why did the universe start in this highly specific, incredibly ordered condition? This is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in physics. We don't have a good answer. The second law of thermodynamics explains why the clock is unwinding. It explains the direction of the ticking. But it doesn't explain who or what wound up the clock in the first place. Some physicists think it might just be a brute fact of our universe. It is what it is, and we are here to observe it because that's the kind of universe that allows for things like us to exist. If the universe had started in a high entropy state, a state of complete disorder or thermal equilibrium, then nothing would ever happen. It would just be a boring uniform soup of particles. No stars would form. No galaxies. No planets, no life, no one to even ask the question, so maybe we are just lucky. Other theories are more complex. Perhaps our Big Bang is just one small part of a much larger multiverse. In this bigger picture, entropy might be high overall, but random fluctuations could, very rarely, create a small pocket of low entropy like our universe, which then expands and evolves. We just happen to live in one of these rare, ordered pockets. Another idea has to do with the nature of gravity and the expansion of the universe. At the Big Bang, matter was spread out very smoothly and uniformly. In terms of matter, that looks disordered. But gravity is a strange force. It pulls things together. For gravity, a smooth, uniform state is actually very low entropy. It's highly ordered. A high entropy state for gravity is when everything is clumped together into black holes. So as the universe evolves, gravity pulls matter into stars and galaxies, and eventually black holes, and this process increases the overall entropy. The arrow of time, then, is driven by gravity pulling the smooth early universe into the lumpy, clumpy universe we see today. This connects the thermodynamic arrow of time to another arrow, the cosmological arrow of time. This is simply the observation that the universe is expanding. It was smaller in the past, and it will be bigger in the future. This expansion gives the universe room to become more disordered. It creates a stage for entropy to play out on an epic scale. What would happen if the universe began to contract? Would time run backward? It's a fascinating question. Some think that in a collapsing universe, the arrow of time might reverse. Others think it wouldn't, and a contracting universe would be a very strange and inhospitable place. Then there's our own personal experience of time, the psychological arrow of time. Why do we remember the past but not the future? This also seems to be deeply connected to entropy. The process of forming a memory is a physical process in your brain. It requires your brain to do work. Neurons fire, new connections are made. This process uses energy. When your body uses energy, it takes ordered chemical energy from the food you ate and converts it into disordered heat, which radiates away from your body. So, the very act of creating a memory in your brain, an ordered record of a past event, contributes to the overall increase of disorder in the universe. In a sense, a memory is an ordered footprint of a less ordered world. You remember the broken cup on the floor. You don't remember the whole cup on the table before it fell, because that future state, from the perspective of the shards, would represent a massive, spontaneous decrease in entropy, which just doesn't happen. Our brains have evolved to record things that have happened, which means recording the trail of increasing entropy. We are built to perceive time in the direction that it flows according to the second law. We can't remember the future because the future hasn't happened yet. The universe hasn't increased its entropy in that particular way yet. There is also the causal arrow of time, because it always comes before effect. You strike the match and then the fire starts. You throw the ball and then it flies through the air. This seems to be the most fundamental arrow of all. But it too is likely a reflection of the thermodynamic arrow. Almost every cause and effect relationship you can think of involves a transition from a more ordered state to a less ordered one. Striking a match is an irreversible process that releases energy and increases disorder. If you saw a video of a burned out match head suddenly flaring up and recoding itself in its unburned chemicals, you would say the video is running backward. You would say you are seeing an effect the flame happen before it's caused the strike. Our notion of cause and effect is built upon the statistical unlikeliness of entropy decreasing. So all these different arrows of time, the thermodynamic one, things get messy. The cosmological one, the universe expands. The psychological one, we remember the past. And the causal one, causes precede effects, all seem to be pointing in the same direction. And they all seem to be rooted in the same two fundamental facts, the second law of thermodynamics and the inexplicable fact that our universe began in a state of very, very low entropy. What would a world without an arrow of time be like? Imagine a universe in thermal equilibrium, a universe where entropy is already at its maximum. Everything is spread out perfectly evenly. The temperature is the same everywhere. There are no hot stars and no cold empty space. There is just a lukewarm, uniform fog of particles. In such a universe, nothing would happen. There would be no flow, no change, no work could be done, because work requires a difference in temperature, an energy gradient. No complex structures could exist because they are, by definition, ordered states. There would be no life, because life is a process that fights against local decay by creating a lot of disorder elsewhere we eat, we breathe, we generate heat. Life is a beautiful temporary eddy in the great forward river of entropy. In a universe without an arrow of time, there could be no memory, no learning, no growth, no decay. There would be no story, no beginning, no middle, and no end. Just an eternal, unchanging is. This might be the ultimate fate of our own universe. Physicists talk about the heat death of the universe. A future, trillions upon trillions of years from now, when all the stars have burned out, all the black holes have evaporated, and all that's left is a cold, dark, empty space filled with a thin soup of stray particles. A state of maximum entropy. In that final state, the arrow of time would cease to have meaning. Time might still exist, but it would have no direction. So why does time only move forward? It's because the universe had a beginning. And that beginning was special. It was an incredibly ordered state, a cosmic egg wound up tight. And for the last 13.8 billion years, that egg has been breaking. That clock has been unwinding. We are living inside that process. The forward march of time is the sound of the universe settling down, exploring the vast number of ways it can be disordered. The laws governing the individual particles might not care about yesterday versus tomorrow. But the universe as a whole does. The state of the universe yesterday was different from the state of the universe today. It was more ordered, and the state of the universe tomorrow will be different again. It will be more disordered. It's a strange and humbling thought. The most intimate and personal experience we have, the feeling of time passing, is tied to the grandest story of all, the story of the cosmos itself. Every tick of the clock, every heartbeat, every memory we form is a small echo of the Big Bang. It's a tiny ripple in the great one-way current that is carrying everything from an ordered past to a disordered future. We can't go back, because going back would mean unshuffling the entire universe. And the odds of that are just too small to even consider. The river only flows one way, and we are all inescapably flowing with it.